Welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to talk about the different types of dairy products. First thing I'm going to talk about is milk. Ideally you want to buy milk, like I was saying, that's raw, grass-fed and organic. If you can't get raw, then at least get unhomogenized milk. Don't get the pasteurized homogenized. If you have to get whole milk, don't get the one that's low fat, because if you're getting low fat anything or fat free, or if you're getting skim, or in some countries they say skimmed milk, the problem with that is that it's going to be higher in sugar. So people are saying, oh, I don't want to consume high fat dairy because it's high in saturated fat. But then again, if you're going to be consuming low fat dairy, then you're going to consume more sugar. So, and it's going to be more carbs. So definitely definitely avoid the low fat dairy, and try to avoid at least homogenized, and if you can avoid pasteurized as well, then avoid that as well. Now the other problem though with milk is that it's still going to be pretty high in carbs, and it's going to be high in lactose. So if you're lactose intolerant, then milk is going to be something that you're going to have to avoid, and it's going to contain casein. So again, if you have to get milk, if you're going to drink milk, then get milk that's A2 casein ideally. Okay, so it's going to be high in casein, high in lactose. So if you have any allergies or sensitivities and that, then avoid milk. And if you're going to consume milk, if you don't have any lactose intolerance, if you've got enough lactase, and if you're okay with the casein, then consume. It's okay to consume dairy milk from time to time. But again, milk is very insulinogenic. So because it's high in carbs and high in protein, and so if you're following the low carb diet, then avoid that. And don't consume even raw milk. I consume it the odd time, raw milk, but I don't consume it too often, because of the fact that it's going to be high in carbs and sugar. Yogurt, similar problems to milk. Okay, it's going to be again high in carbs, high in sugar, high in lactose, casein. It's going to be insulinogenic. If you have to get yogurt, consume it just the odd time, and make sure that it's whole milk yogurt, not the low fat again, because it's going to be high in sugar. And make sure you get plain yogurt. Don't get the flavoured yogurts. So get regular yogurt. Try to get organic. So there's regular yogurt that's going to be strained twice, so that removes some of the whey protein. Then there's Greek yogurt that's going to be strained 3 times. That removes even more of the whey protein, but it's going to increase the casein, so it's going to be higher in protein compared to the regular yogurt. Right? So that's Greek yogurt, also known as strained yogurt in some countries. Then there's also Icelandic yogurt, and that's strained 4 times. Bulgarian yogurt, that's not strained at all. So Greek yogurt, for example, that's going to be one of the least amounts of sugar. That's going to contain one of the least amount of carbs as well. So it's going to contain roughly 3 grams of carbs, or maybe a little bit more. So it's still pretty high in carbs and sugar. So you should try to avoid it as much as possible. Consume it in moderation from time to time. I don't really consume yogurt myself for these reasons that often. It's going to be high in probiotics. If you're going to buy yogurt, check that it contains only 2 ingredients: milk and live cultures. Cream now is going to have less carbs, okay, than yogurt and milk, especially if you get double cream. Okay, that's going to have, if you're living in the UK or Ireland, there's a thing called double cream, and that's going to contain roughly 48% butterfat. Then in America there's a thing called heavy whipping cream, and that's going to contain roughly, it's in the 30s. So what happens is that it's going to whip very quickly. So if you're whipping the cream, double cream and heavy whipping cream are going to whip pretty quick. Again, it's going to have less sugar, so that's a benefit of consuming those two rather than other creams that's going to be way higher in that are going to be way higher in casein and lactose. So if you've got lactose intolerance or casein, cream is going to contain a lot less than yogurt and milk. So you might be able to consume cream if you have lactose intolerance, or if you've got casein allergies, but you'd have to consume in moderation. And I wouldn't consume cream myself much, just the odd time. And also it's not going to spike your insulin levels as much as milk and yogurt. Cheese is going to consume it's going to contain very little lactose. So if you have lactose intolerance, you may be able to handle cheese because it's going to contain very little. Now the problem though with cheese is that, like, even though it's low in lactose, it's going to be very high in casein. It contains more casein than even milk, so that's a problem. So if you have to get casein, if you have to get cheese, then look for A2 milk, A2 cheese. So now the thing is, okay, even though I said that earlier on that America, like, you can't get, like, it's illegal in some parts of America to consume raw milk. You can actually get raw cheese though in some countries that you can't get raw milk. You can get imported cheeses from Europe. So if you live in America, you can get imported cheeses, and I consume like an Italian cheese called Parmigiano Reggiano. That's a hard cheese, and so you can grate that on top of something. That's going to be A2, because a lot of countries in southern Europe are going to have naturally contain A2 casein, so that's a good casein. But I wouldn't really consume it much, because also fermented foods, okay, so the likes of yogurt and cheese, they're going to be high in histamine, okay. So histamine's good, but consuming too much, if you haven't got enough DAO in your small intestine, then you're going to have what's called a histamine intolerance. And a histamine intolerance can like, you can get dizziness, that's one of the symptoms, and headaches. I wouldn't consume cheese often because of the high casein, and because of, like, if you have any histamine intolerance, if you have any, and also because it's a fermented product, you're going to react to different types of cheeses. See how you feel on cheese, and maybe cut it out of your diet for a while. If you're using the hard cheese, it's going to be low in carbs compared to, like, maybe cottage cheese, which is going to be a lot higher. You can grate cheese over, especially hard ones, you can grate them over salads, pasta, in melted cheese. So there's many different ways you can use cheese. It's very versatile. Different dairy protein powders now. Okay, so the first one, casein. So the two main ones that people know about is casein and whey that people use, okay? But the problem with casein, like I said, it's slower to digest than whey. So it's going to cause a lot more digestive issues than whey. And most casein protein that you buy in shops is also going to be A1 casein protein. So that's another reason to avoid casein protein. Whey protein, that's going to be faster to digest. That's why it's a better option to go for than casein protein, right? There's a few different types of whey protein though. Ideally you want to look for isolate or concentrate. Try to get plain whey protein, unflavored, so just one ingredient. It's difficult to get, and try to get grass-fed, especially if you live in America. Make sure that it's grass-fed, like other dairy products, because a lot of dairy products in America are going to be grain-fed. So look for grass-fed whey protein powder, okay? I consume that a lot. If you have lactose intolerance or casein, you might be okay with the whey, because it's like roughly 80%. If you're getting whey protein concentrate, okay, it'll be 80%. If you're getting whey protein isolate, then it's going to contain 90% whey protein, okay? You can use whey protein in smoothies, in shakers. I usually use it in smoothies myself. Just add like some berries to it and into the smoothie, and like vanilla powder. So you could do that. You could use it, you could mix it with Greek yogurt if you're eating yogurt and honey, raw honey, and even just throw berries in there. That would be a good snack to consume. You could do that. Whey protein is high in B vitamins and minerals. Bovine colostrum, and bovine colostrum is the first milk of the baby calf. It's high in protein, high in immune cells, high in antibodies, and high in growth factors, okay? The antibodies IgA and IgG and IgM, and they help kill off bacteria and viruses. Growth factors, there's IGF-1 and IGF-2 naturally found in colostrum. And even though they're naturally found in colostrum, if you're an athlete, you may want to avoid that, because if you're an elite athlete, because that might actually prevent you from competing in competitions. Even though it's naturally found in colostrum, in bovine colostrum, it still might, because of the fact that it's growth factors, it might prevent you from competing in competition. So you should be aware of that before before consuming bovine colostrum, if you're going to be competing in a competition. But other than that though, there's benefits to consuming colostrum, and you should consider consuming that if you're bodybuilding. Even though the studies are pretty scant, it may help your recovery. You recover faster than whey protein powder, okay? So from workouts, etc. I consume colostrum sometimes as well, but it's mainly whey protein that I consume. Kefir, milk kefir. Milk kefir is a fermented milk drink. Kefir literally means feel good. High in probiotics, okay? That's if you get it from, if you drink raw milk and you add kefir grains to it, okay? So you add kefir grains to it and let it ferment in the milk. And ideally make it from yourself and buy the kefir grains or buy it from a friend. And what happens is they expand, so you can sell it then if you want, give it to a friend or whatever, or sell it online, because they expand so you can have more if you take care of the kefir grains. It's going to be high in probiotics, and probiotics in Greek that means for life, and antibiotics means against life. It's going to be pretty low in lactose and casein, and if you're following a low carb diet, don't consume too much kefir. Now, one of the downsides to consuming kefir is that it's going to be, if you're histamine intolerant, then you may have a problem with kefir because it's a fermented food like cheese and yogurt. Butter is going to be high in fat. It's going to contain roughly 80% butter fat. It's going to be very low in casein, lactose and all other milk solids, and it's going to be high in butter fat. So you could definitely try butter if you have lactose intolerance and see how you get on, or if you have casein. It's going to be low in carbs, so if you're following a low carb diet, then butter is okay, that's ideal. And it's going to be high in stearic acid, and it's going to be high in fat soluble vitamins. Yeah, so definitely try butter, and you can melt butter on like meat or on potatoes, etc. Clarified butter and ghee. And ghee and clarified butter, that's where you remove all the milk solids. So you remove the lactose, there's no lactose, or maybe there's small amounts, trace amounts there might be of lactose and casein. So if you have any lactose problems or casein problems, then you can definitely try ghee. What happens is you can make it yourself, or you can buy it from an Indian store if you've got one in Indian supermarkets, and it's used a lot in Middle Eastern and Indian cuisine. There's a little bit of a difference between clarified butter and ghee, because ghee is heated a little bit longer and then clarified butter. So if you've got any problems to any of the solid parts of the dairy, then try ghee, because that's just pure butter fat. So it's going to be high, ghee is going to be high in stearic acid, it's going to be high in fat soluble vitamins, especially like vitamin A. Ghee is going to be high in butyric acid, also known as butyrate. Butyric acid or butyrate, that's a short chain fatty acid that provides fuel for the cells of our body and can provide protection against certain diseases of the digestive tract. Very seldom that you'd have any problems to the dairy fat. It's usually that you have problems to the lactose or some of the milk solids. So try ghee, and again, like butter, you can use this. It's got actually a higher smoke point than butter. So ghee's got a higher smoke point than butter. You can use it in many different ways, and you can use it for the same purposes as you use butter for. Try adding in dairy to your diet and then see how you feel, and then try cutting out and see how you feel. Maybe take 30 days to cut out dairy from your diet and then add it back in and see how you feel. Okay, because as I said, there is benefits to consuming dairy if it's organic and grass-fed, and ideally if it's raw. I don't really consume much of the dairy products, just mainly whey protein from time to time, and whey protein, and sometimes ghee and butter as well. But besides that, I don't really consume dairy anymore. If you're trying to lose weight, then maybe cut out the dairy products that are higher in the lactose, the sugar and the carbs, and try consuming more of the ghee and butter, and maybe even cut out them to see how you feel. Cut out for 30 days and see how you feel. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.